Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of F124 Driver Career Mode. We are still here with our first team in our first season, just round 3, MoneyGram Haas F1 team. But we are coming off of a decent performance out in Jeddah, managing to stick with a pack of cars that managed to get us just up into the points paying position. So, took 2 races to get our first points of our driver career mode, but we have indeed managed to get onto the point scoring levels. But we're headed now next to Australia, which typically in history has been a pretty decent track for Haas. Now, how much of that is just that it used to always be an early season circuit and Haas would typically come out okay and then not develop throughout the year. But driver career mode is going to be a little bit different. We are going to be pushing the developments all the way through the season. We've finished ahead of our teammate Nico in both races so far, so we're going to look to do the same. Last time out, first time we beat him in qualifying. So we'll take a look and see what we have coming up for the Australian Grand Prix to see what kind of results we can get. But first, let's take a look at some of the emails and get our engine and everything else set up. So let's take a look, see if we've got any kind of weather coming in to deal with, or if we're going to get some interesting information. Of course, Australia's been switched around. A couple of the chicanes are out, and this handling model makes the turn 10-11 chicane very interesting. Looks like a little overcast and cloudy, but no actual rain. But we are dealing with some failed development. So we were hoping to have some upgrades coming for the Australian race here, but alas, no such luck as far as goals. Have overtake some cars, do a few other things I didn't necessarily look right away, but we are kind of slowly moving our way forward. Of course, no upgrades meaning we fall just a little further back of the field, and so far we're still just running on power unit number 1. We'll start swapping that stuff around throughout the season.
Hello everyone, it is time for qualifying at one of our very favourite stops on the calendar. It's Albert Park, and we're about to take the cars right up to the edge.
So let's jump out on track for the first run in qualifying. Sun is out nice and bright, and we're opening up the DRS to get a good run down the pit straight to start this one. We are probably not expecting to be very high in qualifying, realistically, likely even back of the pack. Jeddah really suits the car. Just the AI doesn't do as well because they don't typically bolt on as much downforce. We are again carrying a healthy amount of downforce because of the high speed corners around the track, but through Sector 1, just finishing up the little parking lot section, getting the car pitched into the right, and now we'll get ready for some of the high-speed sections. So really getting this corner right onto the inside, cover this outside curve. You can take a lot more of that, but now it's a full-speed blast for quite a ways till you get to the left-right chicane. This, though, is where we tend to lose a little bit of time to the rivals because of our straight-line disadvantage, but it really helps us out here. You can see, pitch it in. You can use the curb a lot more than you used to in previous games. The car is a little more compliant over those curbs. But down into the final sector we go. Find just ahead of the 50-meter board brake. Get the car rotated on the power. You see Lance Stroll setting the initial lap time of the day. Surely to be beat pretty soon. A little bit wide there. Nearly off track limits and into this tricky left-hand hairpin. And now the right-hander to finish it off. Alonso 17.7. 17.2 for sides. On the overtake, DRS open across the line, and it's a 19.0. So we are 1.3 off of the Aston Martins. And as we come out with the session coming to a close, the last couple seconds, starting our final lap, we are sitting P20 in this one. So have to find quite a bit of improvement in order to move up. Found about a 10th and a half through the first corner and a good exit, which improves our run down into this heavy braking zone. Good overtaking spot, turn 3 there. And then you can kind of go side by side. A little bit wide, but somehow not a track limits violation. Very fortunate in that regard. So we found nearly 4/10. And again, taking a little more curb, a little bit more speed through here, just trying to minimize the steering angle, minimize scrubbing the fronts as we get through this long couple right-handers. You see we are gaining some time all the way down. Now we're starting to lose a little bit out of it, but just where we're deploying is slightly different. So into the chicane, finding a little bit of time. 6/10 up now. Hulkenberg drops down to P17 as the rest of the cars are starting to come in, braking very late for this last real heavy braking zone. We found 7/10, and Lando Norris goes potentially top. We go just wide and out of track limits. So lap time invalidated, and we will be starting from the very back of the field. Now, if I wanted to play the game of it, I could just take a whole new power unit because I'm going to need a penalty at some point.
Goodbye for now then. We are really just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Now with P20, I could take a full power unit. You can see a lot of time needed to be found. I was going to barely catch my teammate with that 7/10 improvement or so, but I'm not going to take a new power unit in this case. We'll just go with it.
Few places embrace Formula One like Melbourne. It is a truly brilliant sentence to say. Welcome to the Australian Grand Prix. We first raced here in Albert Park back in 1996. It's 3.2 miles, 14 turns now instead of the original 16, part of a larger redevelopment to encourage overtaking. The drivers enjoyed it in 2022. It retains the landmarks, the bumps, the challenge, but there's more opportunity to attack with those 5 corners to the left and the 9 to the right. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who will start from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Oscar Piastri, Sainz, Leclerc, Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Perez, Russell, Bottas, Joe, Gasly, Albon, Sargent, Ocon, Ricciardo, Hulkenberg, Tsunoda, and Old Timer. And with Lights Out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Welcome to the commentary box overlooking the circuit. I'm Alex Jakes, and joining us for the race today is Naomi Schiff. Now, those final hours before a race, did you have a routine?
Well, every driver certainly has their own way of preparing themselves before a race. But I can tell you that pre-race rituals are a real thing. When I was in go-karting, I used to touch every wheel in a specific sequence before I got into the kart. And then I stepped up to cars and had a specific set of fireproof base layers just for race day. So watch the drivers when they're on the grid. Some may be sitting on the floor and isolating, others may be up to other things that they do. But these little things really help their minds get ready for the race.
Okay, mate, I know it's not a great position to be starting on the grid, and it also puts us slap bang in the middle of the danger zone where risk is high. So be careful, pick your battles, and let's see if we can pick a few positions off along the way.
So a lot of work to do in this race, starting at the very back, but do have the opportunity to make some moves up into turn 1 to start the race. And we're going to take a look at the strategy. Of course, get our fuel level down to what we've tested. So 29 laps should be just fine. According to what we ran in the race simulation. So looks like medium hard is probably going to be the ideal strategy, just playing around potentially from the back. I'm thinking maybe we go opposite strategy, but no, we'll just keep it standard. So here come the 5 red lights up. Wait for them to drop, and we get off the line. Not the best start off the line, but we're just trying to tiptoe and pick our way through. Getting the RS turn on. And there's a little bit of a gap. We're going to go up side by side with our teammate, make sure we don't get squeezed or squeezed in. Around the outside, and now we're going to see kind of where our straight line deficit can come into play, but we got a good release by burning a lot of battery and then hard on the brakes into turn 3 up the inside of both Ricciardo, nearly getting up there with Ocon, but having to back out of it, not able to really carry the speed up the inside on the exit. So we managed to get ahead of our teammate, gain a couple of positions right in the first couple of corners and a little bit wide through there. So not the best run to start with, but we do have an opportunity in the slipstream here to try and close up.
The start was fine. Let's try and move forward.
But you can see once we get kind of towards the VMAX, they start to pull away quite a bit. So that's where their straight line speed advantage is really going to come into play. Tiptoeing through the chicane the first time, of course, heavy fuel load makes it a little bit sketchy, but we burned a ton of battery. We're going to go for a lunge up the inside into, I want to say turn 13, 12? I don't know what the numbers of the turns are anymore ever since they changed the layout. But we do manage to get up the inside of Ocon and in a spot that we're not going to lose the car ahead, Sargent. So just kind of working our way through the train, not trying to upset the apple cart too much because we're still on the current mod or current patch before the handling patches come out, and it also, you know, the AI, the way they race is still very in packs and in trains. They're still looking at that one. I don't believe that's fixed in the handling patch one, but still have a few more races on the old handling patch. So, decent start. Managed to pick off a few positions, get up into P16. It's going to be a bit of effort to get into the points, but it is a decently long race. 29 laps for us to manage our way through this one, and it's going to be all about keeping the tires together. Of course, Haas, with those upgrade failures, still no improvements to our tire wear, so I would estimate that we are probably one of the worst on the grid when it comes to worn tires. But through the chicane, you can see quite a bit of speed on exit. We're actually quite quick compared to the AI through that high-speed chicane. So we do have kind of the opportunity to go for some moves there, I think, if we look forward into the race. That may be an opportunity for us, as the normal traditional overtaking zones were just a little too slow on the straights to get the job done on the AI. But that's where we're making our lap time. We could probably dial the wings back a bit at some other tracks. But we're just trying to make overall lap time. That way we can close up and, you know, the slipstream DRS helps with our straight line disadvantage a little bit, and we burn quite a bit of battery. But jumping ahead now, lap 4 of 29. And you can see we've just kind of settled in, still behind Sargent, but you can see when we have clean air on our nose, the speed we take through the chicane and how much ground we're taking. We're going to go ahead and go for a nice late lunge on the brakes into the right-hander, leave him space on the outside, and we're managing to get straight through up into P15. So we're up 5 spots now, and we've got Alex Albon just ahead of us. So it's going to be very important that we remain in the DRS detection point. We were a little deep on the hairpin, but we do manage to keep that DRS, and now really need to push on and try and stay with it. We don't want to lose this pack. Otherwise, that's kind of our points off the table if we lose this pack ahead. It's still rather clumped up, but we're going to jump ahead again. Lap 6 of 29, so we've managed to close up to the gap to the back of Albon and Gasly and the Sauber who've been fighting. So again, through the chicane, a good run. We're going to go real late on the dive. A little bit of contact with Gasly. He's gone a bit. We pushed him a little bit wide. He's going to kind of pinch us off, so we're just going to lift off, tuck in. But that has given Joe a chance to bridge the gap back up to the cars ahead. But we're ahead of both of the Williamses now, and 6 laps into this race, already making some very good forward progress. It's going to be all about managing the battery over the stints here, and having a very good pit stop window. But we're staying right in that DRS train, and Gasly still losing the back actually a little bit of Joe, so we need to try and get past Gasly and onto the back of the Sauber pretty quickly in this one. But still have plenty of health in these medium tires. They're not starting to fall off just yet, so we're pushing on just normally. A little bit later in the stint, so we will have the opportunity probably to try and save a bit, but that all depends on Joe and Gasly. If Gasly can catch up, then I can just kind of stay patient. If Gasly is unable to close up to Joe, which it's looking like he's dropping, you see big lift out of the throttle there for me. I'm just tucked right into the gearbox of Gasly, so it's going to be a big opportunity to go for a move. Rear wing flips open as we head out of the chicane up ahead of Gasly. Now it's going to be burn battery and try, and a big snap of oversteer there coming out of the corner, so that's not going to help with catching up to the Sauber. You can see there's quite a fight or a train going on ahead. If they can start fighting a little bit, it may slow them down enough for us to catch up. But we're the head of our own little train here at the back. I believe it's about, 7 cars long. And now the tricky part is being the lead of the train without having superior top speed to anybody. So they're going to have that DRS on us. We're burning quite a lot of battery because we're pushing very hard to catch up to Joe. Big lock up there into turn 3, but managed to get the car stopped and rotated. That's Not going to be great for the front right tire. So we're going to have to be keeping an eye out for that, as it may get worse throughout the stint because of those lockups. But really having a tough time just getting up onto the back of Joe there. We're starting to bridge the gap, but I believe I'm still just outside of that 1 second margin. And of course that gap always increases. Yeah, the rear wing closed. That gap increases if I don't have the DRS, because not only am I just slower on the straights, they also have the DRS helping them be faster on the straights. Really pushing it through the chicane there. You can see all the way out on the curbing. The back end still getting a little wild on it. One thing I will give to the new handling model is it makes the back end a little easier to collect. In the previous games, as soon as the back end starts to go, it was pretty difficult. It was pretty much just snap and gone. Another lockup on the front left that time. So not quite close enough, though, to get into the DRS of Guan Yu Zhou. So 1.3 seconds the margin. Got it down to 1.1, so close. But it was not enough, and you can see battery really draining. Jumping ahead now, lap 13 of 29. And if I remember correctly, this is indeed our pit window. You can see Zhou now 3.6 seconds ahead. During the intervening laps, we were under pressure from Gasly and had to drive a bit defensively a few times. But so that did cost us a fair chunk of time to the cars ahead. So we're going to need to hope for some good pit stop action. Maybe use an undercut to try and catch up to that pack. I did try to not fight Gasly at one point. All right, Mark, enough. I did at one point try and just let Gasly through since he was pressuring me, but he was so slow through so many corners that it really didn't matter. And you can actually see he's dropped to 1.1 seconds back of us now. So we have actually opened up a little bit of a gap to the Alpine behind, but into the pit lane we come.
Probably dropping due to wear, so don't be too aggressive.
Ooh, a little graze in the wall on the way in, but on the brakes, get the car slowed down and into the pit lane. So one of the Saubers has stayed out. A lot of cars have made it this their pit lap. So in we go. Tires off, and another bad stop for us. 4.9 seconds, so very slow. We dropped behind Albon now, so essentially kind of towards the back of the group, and that's an extra, 3.5 seconds, which I didn't need to lose. If I had kept those 3.5 seconds, it makes me a lot closer to coming out near the other cars. But got to try and catch up to Albon here. We're on the cold, hard tires, so they're not very quick. The AI gets their tires pretty much out of the pits at full temperature. It doesn't really simulate AI tire temperatures that hardly at all. So usually first lap out, the AI is so much quicker than you because your tires take about a full lap or so to get up to temperature in this new tire model. So you can see Tsunoda's already clawed into the DRS range, and just watch that time come down. I think he gained almost 4/10 down that DRS zone. And you can see we gained a couple of tenths back through the chicane because of our pace compared to the AI through there. So it's a little bit of give and take between the two, but the goal is to try and get into the DRS of Albon, but it's not my best sector of the season, this last sector of Australia, and indeed I'll be just out of reach. There are a few other cars that didn't make the pit stop last lap that are coming in now. They're rolling through the pit lane, and you can see we are managing to stay ahead of Gasly even with our slow stop thanks to that undercut. But you can see the gap to Zhou now 1 second. If we hadn't taken those extra 2.5 seconds in the bad pit stop, we would have come out well ahead of him, and even on the back potentially of the Aston Martin. Very wide there. The car just understeered like crazy for some reason. Luckily, lost enough time that we didn't get a track limits warning. So jumping ahead, lap 17 of 29, we've had a pretty pushed middle sector. You can see purple in the middle sector, fastest of the race so far, green in the first sector, and now having a look up the inside of Zhou, learning from our last double overtake attempt where we kind of clatted in to the back of
Nice work, mate. That brings you
of Gasly. We decide just to get the one, knock Zhou off, but Albon and Stroll just ahead of us now, kind of battling it out. and we managed to stay in the DRS of those two. So we're up to P13 now. P11 is just in our sights up ahead, and you can see side by side they're battling, and we really have to be slow getting off the corner. Of course, Stroll going to have DRS on the way to turn 3, so not enough for me to get an overspeed in order to try and make a move. So we're just going to lift out, cool the car a little bit. No reason to go for any kind of big lunge. And now we've got, 11-ish laps left to go in this one. At this point, it's looking like, P11 is maximum. And this will be kind of also a learning opportunity at the end of this race, if it is indeed kind of a fault of the AI. We noticed it in Jeddah that on the last lap, they kind of ran out of battery halfway through that last lap. And it allowed us to just clear a couple of cars at the end. And again, side by side, so we've got to really take our time through here. We'd love to be able to make a bunch of time, but alas, no such luck. Side by side, and nowhere really for us to go here. So big lift. I really don't necessarily want to be lifting and coasting, because you can see my fuel mix plus 1 lap. I should be, burning it down quite significantly. I started basically flat plus 0. But we've managed to save an entire lap's worth of fuel. Again, apologies for the audio. I don't know why it's doing that on the recording. But again, that group side by side fighting very slow for Albon. I'm trying to get a run, a little piece of the car alongside anywhere, but switching it back inside, outside, nothing doing down into turn 3. Just gonna have to tuck in and take our medicine here. Our teammate must have had a rough go, because while he was on our train before the pit stop window, it looks like the undercut was indeed worth about 3 seconds or so. Around a 1-lap undercut, so I believe he has fallen astray of this little group of cars here. There's 5 of us now, battling for a couple of for not a points paying position, but the upper reaches of the non-points paying position in this one. So again, very good run through the chicane. This time having a look to the inside of Albon. He tries to shut the door. We managed to get the nose in. We're kind of tucked up behind the Aston Martin, so not able to go for a big lunge because he defended to the inside, but we do manage to get past Albon and now have the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll just ahead of us. And we're starting to work our way just a little bit closer to that P11 place, but the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll a bit higher up on the development chart than us and the Williams and Kick Saubers, so I estimate it'll probably be a bit of an effort to try and get past this green car. Of course, though, Fernando Alonso, the much quicker Aston driver than Lance Stroll. So he's kind of fallen back towards us. I believe Lance Stroll got the more raw end of the undercut pit strategy. He had to stay out that lap longer. But we're kind of having to watch our back just a little bit. We're going to jump ahead, lap 28 of 29. One thing that did happen is 2 cars, a Red Bull and a Ferrari, took a second pit stop, so they might have clashed and come together. So our P12-11 fight, or our P11 and 12 fight now is a P9, P10 fight. So after a 9th place finish in Jeddah, starting this final lap, we are once again looking at a potentially another 2 points to the Haas team. Our teammate Nico Hulkenberg right at the back, unfortunately. But as we're working through, I've managed to save up quite a bit of battery on this lap, deploying it. And you can see the red light already flashing on Stroll's car. So harvesting, going to the inside. Oh, he just pushes us into the wall, closes the door the whole way. Already had the overspeed, was committed. Lucky to not pick up any damage. But through we go into the chicane, and you can see just how much slower they are. Of course, we have the DRS, but it does look indeed like they burn out their battery. Big lockup, though, into the right-hander, but shouldn't harm us. We don't need these tires for too much further, and we were well within the wear ranges that we need. So into the last couple of corners, Max Verstappen again picking up a win, though this time not running away from the field like we saw in the first 2 races of the season. Quite a huge train, actually, all the way to P8, but across the line, P9, grab our second points finish of the season. And we earn ourselves a nice little driver of the day for it.
We've witnessed some great battles on the streets of Melbourne today then, and they've taken a fantastic win.
Wow, that's 3 wins in a row. They really are on a roll now and really building great momentum. They're clearly one to look out for.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They've performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everyone at the team.
So another big result for Max Verstappen and Red Bull. This time, though, Lewis Hamilton on the podium alongside Lando Norris. So it's been an interesting group of podium mates we've typically seen throughout the season. Charles Leclerc not on the podium this time. I believe he was on the podium the first 2 races.
And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
So Nico Hülkenberg finishes 17th. Yeah, you can see Perez and Leclerc started 9th and 5th, but an extra stop drops them all the way to the back of the field, and that's what moved us forward. Verstappen, 77 points on the season, 3 races in, so nearly perfect so far. We're up into P12 with 4 points to our name. Of course, Valtteri Bottas has grabbed 6, so that keeps Kick Sauber just ahead of us. But P7 is not bad considering where we're at so far in the development chart. And I have quite a lot of development left to go over the course of the season to try and move our way up. Maybe start challenging for points more on pure merit rather than having to get a little bit of luck. Still on that 45-55 split, but we are starting to work our way forward. Manufacturing expert, getting closer to a level up there, but still have quite a bit of work to do in the other groups. But we managed to finish off a few objectives over the course of this race. We had, I believe, a engine temperature one, an ERS recharge one, so they were pretty easy ones. Of course, overtaking 5 cars on track, definitely got that done, handled the business in that one. With those late lunges, and at least with our straight line disadvantage, found a spot on the track that we could, in fact, make a move. Round 3 here, we're getting our first secret meeting, which is a new feature here in F124. It does seem to be not quite so random. It does seem to be scripted. I've seen mostly, other YouTubers. It seems like everybody at round 3 gets a secret meeting. But Williams coming to us to chit chat. They have no points so far. They were a little higher up than us in the development chart, but I'm not about to start talking to another team just 3 races into the season. So we've got a good thing going. We're just ahead of them in the constructors, and I think we can make up the gap that we need in the development chart pretty easily over the course of the season. So until a proper team comes knocking, I'm just going to go ahead and decline the secret meeting and head back and
points, et cetera,
earn some favor with our team here.
Else more exciting comes calling, but let's focus on our current seat for now.
Yeah, as the agent says, focus on the current seat for now. We have Japan coming up next. Our manufacturing and wind tunnel experts are gone, so we're going power unit. Looking for, we'll go with the top speed. I think coming out of Spoon, we'll zip our way pretty quickly. I think I was going back to check and see what track it was, just to see how viable the 204 mile an hour challenge was. It was, could be a tough one. Material fabrication, so 3 corner cutting warnings or 250 gear shifts in a session, easily done in the race, and actually probably easily done in the race strategy practice program. Just those 5 laps, easily doing 250. Lifting coast for 25 seconds, easily done, especially with how much lifting coast you do in practice sessions, and of course, complete a practice program. Always do. So we're up to 67 in our current driver rating, 70 of course being the target, but we've gone up 2 points in 3 races essentially, so it was a good start. Taking a look, we have 800 resource points to go for upgrades. It looks like Nico looking at the cable assembly, which is a requirement for the tire data analytics, so we're going to try and get going on our try and get going on our tire wear improvements. So I'm going to spend it on those that cabling. So next up, we can do tire wear analytics. Don't quite have enough to afford anything else, so we'll get those going. Hopefully, this front wing adjuster bracket redevelopment is going to come through, which it does. So we'll get a little bit of front end help at a track that definitely needs it. Suzuka is certainly a track that needs that front downforce to be really on the ball there. So we'll see. We got 483 with the last week, so just looking to see potentially grabbing another upgrade to put it in the pipeline. And it looks like turbo we can afford, and the aerodynamic we can afford either of those. Of course, aero, I would say more important than the durability. If we need to make an engine change, fine. We're not trying to maximize every single little grid penalty situation. We can make up spaces in the race pretty well over the course of this career. So, well, we got Japan next. Thank you all for joining me. Hopefully we can try and keep this points finish streak going once again. But I will catch you guys next time. Peace.